Okay, the mission to find the perfect dad shoe continues. All right, so for the next month, we're gonna do the Altra Torin 6. And I know this is an older model, but it's what I had, and we'll see how it does. On your screen now is the midsole millimeters, and then this is a 0 drop shoe. We're gonna see how it does for standing all day at my job. And I typically do stand all day. I've got one of those desks that has a little weeble wobble board, but the idea is just to continuously, engage those muscles and everything. And so we're gonna see how these shoes do through all the activities over the next 30 days. Okay, we will, start the process now.
Day 1 of the Altra Torin 6 on feet all day for the shift. So low stack height. A lot lower than I've been using, for a work shoe. Usually in the 30s or 40s. Well, I shouldn't say 40s, maybe like mid 30s. Okay. The heel landing on the Torin, it is like so little padding here. We got the Ego Max, Ultra Ego Max foam here. It just collapses big time. It's about, I don't know, we'll call it 75 out here. And so it just is just compressing, like hardly any resistance at all. It's cushy, but I can feel my heel bone, kind of bottoming out there. So, not great. But I do like the low to the ground, ability to kind of pivot, be a little bit more close to the ground. That's kind of fun. It's a very flexible shoe, laterally and longitudinally, which is kind of fun. So yeah, we're just gonna keep it going here. Very little arch support. There's no arch fill whatsoever to this Torin 6. So that's what I got for you for now. We're just gonna keep on moving here.
There we go. V14, baby. All right, moving along about halfway through the day. It's 74 degrees out here on pretty hard surfaces in the Fresh from X New Balance 1080 V14. And they're saying even though we have a ton of midsole stack, it collapses. It's trying to capture my gait here, but it's kind of making it to where my arch is not being supported and flattening out. So I don't know. We'll keep going with it here. Try different temperatures with different activities. Yeah, boy, this V14, I do like how it kind of has a bit, almost feels like an excavation or a lighter foam, softer foam to allow that first MTP joint to drop down and then support the second through fifth metatarsal heads. At least that's what it feels like kind of going along here. Thinking about the heel landing and then roll through into the toes with walking versus running, totally different story. And there is a bit of a protrusion, almost like the Nova Blast with under the forefoot, giving this shoe almost a zero, close to 0 drop or less than its stated drop. And so that's just an interesting sensation going along. And with it being so soft, it just kind of allows that foot to drop down and have a little bit of weeble wobble action. Everything except for a forward step. Okay, anything side to side, it kind of shifts back and forth. At least that's what I've noticed. All right. How about your shoes? Good? Yeah. Rocking the Crocs. In a word about the ventilation, not super breezy, not super breathable. Could just be the weather here, and it's just one day of it, but that's just my suspicion here. Also could be the socks, so there's many factors. morning. Walking with the 1080 V14 today. Big, giant difference between that and the Torin 6. I kind of wish I had the V14 for the run that I did yesterday. But that's not how it worked out. My calves are still barking at me from all that forefoot, midfoot stuff with the Torin, which that's kind of what it's for. But man, yeah, feeling a little snug about kind of that midfoot today, but that could be just, the way it is today. All right. One of the things I'm, excited about with the V14 is actually the heel pad. The heel of the shoe is so big and so pillowy, like any of this like aggressive walking that I do from one place to another place, that is not forgiving with the Torin, but is super forgiving with the V14. So, anytime you gotta like move out from, point A to point B, like yesterday, for example, with the Torin, not so great, but V14 can be built for that. So we shall see. Just finished a lunchtime run with the V14 here. Very nice, very, very nice. Comes alive under pressure, under load there. But like when walking and like, really trying to step it out, you can really feel your foot like sink into the midsole foam, and there's not really a ton of push off there. So I just know other shoes that I can really move out with a purpose versus this one here. So interesting comparing the two, and that midfoot tightness actually comes in handy when running. Maybe not so much during walking and just kind of standing around. So fortunately there's laces, right? You can adjust as you need throughout the day. So observation number 567. There we go. It seems safe. So I didn't get any film of us in the rain with the 1080 V15, but I can say that it does not do well at all in the rain. And even like a little bit of moisture, it just like soaked right to the toes. But I will say within an hour's time, in normal, indoor conditions, it did dry out quite nicely. No squish at all. So that was a little wet test for you. Here we are in the sunlight. Oh, shade again. Is this dad drip? Is this kind of dad drip? Drip dad? And we back. Valley Fair. This time with the Altra Torin 6. Dealing with a little soreness in that left Achilles. I figured that the zero drop might be beneficial, to just keep things stretched out. So I guess we'll see. These Valley Fair days are usually like several thousand steps. So this will be a good little test of the old Altra Torin here. Could just be that things are warming up. The Achilles is feeling much better. A few hours later here on the Altra Torin 6. Ooh, good morning, friends. So, gotta say that these 1080 V14s, they take a licking and keep on ticking, man. Then they're running and working and walking and doing all the like dad chores and that. Scratch that. Actually, just all the dad errands. The dad chores, that's a different thing. Anyways, for all the non-dirty stuff, and they are just doing so well. Very, very happy with how the V14s have held up here. So I know the V15s will be coming out soonish. So be interested to see how they turn out. So there's your almost end of the testing period report. There you go. Boom, 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 boom. So good. Fresh Foam X. Here we go. And here we go with a little follow-up video for the New Balance 1080 V14 and the Altra Torin 6. So apologies for being in the van. I wanted to do this outside, but it is very, very windy out. And I just want to give you guys some good audio. So basically, I took both of these pairs of shoes for the month of May 2025 and rotated between the two pair every other day to just kind of get a feel for how these shoes performed over the long haul. And the situations that I put them in were everything but chores at home, okay? So that would include Me going to work, I work in an office setting, going out and living my life. I would do some lunch runs. I did some morning runs, you name it. Basically, it was to see how these shoes held up under just kind of those, in the wild conditions here. And so let's kind of go through each one and see how they perform. So we'll start actually with the Altra Torin 6 here. Now, I kind of talked about it a little bit up front of the video here. But it's less than a 30 mil stack height from the front into the back. It's a zero drop shoe, a little bit of an older shoe, but figured give the zero drop a little chance to see how it performed. Okay. Honestly, it feels so thin compared to like all the other shoes that are out there these days, both for running and lifestyle, etc. It was a little bit of a shock actually to put these on. And so before this test, I had been using this specifically for running, but like over the long haul, these just feel like they just pancake down and everything else. And so that's just kind of how it feels. It feels very much like a slipper. Okay, and so I'll be kind of interspersing some of my little ad libs as the test went through, just to kind of give you some real feel of how it all went. Okay, what I do like actually is the width of the toe box. In this I believe it's the standard toe box for Altra, this platform. Lots of room in the toes, plenty of room to side to side, nice secure upper in the midfoot, and a very, very generous heel pocket here. Obviously an older Torin here, but the guts hopefully remain the same for the newer ones here. And look how flexible these are. That's just super duper flexible. It was actually nice. I tend to stand all day at my desk, and I have like a wobble board and all that other stuff just to try to, introduce some variation. And that's just how I roll with these shoes. And it was kind of fun to really get a good stretch actually of all the structures down below, the heel cord, the Achilles, and all the little onesies and twosies on my feet. Just to kind of have like a controlled variation of like stretching and just kind of getting some of that going, especially again with that wobble board. And with this being a very very ground feel shoe, a very flexible shoe, a very a zero drop shoe, was nice as far as that sort of variation. Okay, and then finally looking at some of the breakdown actually of the midsole. This is the Ego Max, a little bit of the Ego Max here in the front, and this is just your regular Ultra Ego, if I recall here, a little bit of a sidewall situation that I did not feel was super duper pronounced. All in all, I will say that because of the tendency of all manufacturers to go super duper stack height and very, very high cushion, you almost can't feel the ground anymore. It's nice to know that there are still companies out there that kind of, make it to where we are not so distant from the ground. Okay. And did quite a few lunch runs in this actually, and it performed well. And here's kind of the outsole, just so you know. And again, I did have some miles in this before I started this test, but there it is afterwards, and not a tremendous amount of breakdown of this very separate outsole here. But again, I have a tendency to run on the outside of my foot, as you can see, and all my shoes do have this, and I tend to break that down fairly rapidly. So not so bad on the left side, so that's interesting. Okay, and then moving on to the 1080 V14. The reason I included this shoe along with this shoe is because I feel that this shoe is very different than the Torin here. And I mean that by, it's a more of a standard toe shape, but not a small toe box by any means. It's got a ton of stack height versus your Torin. It's got a little bit of a drop, 4 to 5 mils, I believe, versus your zero drop here. Plush. Oh my gosh, this is this is a dad shoe. And what I mean by that is this is a shoe that can dress up nice. It could be there for you for pretty much any situation, and that's what I did. Same with the Torin. I rotated between the two because I do believe in a shoe rotation to include all the dad activities plus lunch runs. And this shoe actually did tremendous. It's got a Fresh Foam X midsole here and quite a lot of creasing here. So Fresh Foam X is quite squishy, but at the same time being very energetic and supportive. I really enjoy the Fresh Foam X of the 1080 here. This is the V14, you know, this is not the V13. V13 midsole, different situation, different soapbox, etc., etc. If you watch my channel, you know. Anyways, and so I do like this shoe. I like its style. I like the upper. I like the midsole. I like just how plush and nice it feels, and just how go-to, right? It rises to whatever it is you're doing. With walking, this is a very pleasant shoe to walk with. It's got a very lovely heel bevel. It's got a very nice follow through. It's got a nice width, about the forefoot, to receive the landing. And I do enjoy actually this segmented forefoot piece under the outsole, as this is, you know, very independent from the rest of the outsole into the midsole along the front of the shoe as it transmits through your gait cycle. So when walking, you're coming down obviously in that heel, you're walking through, and this shoe does a good job in capturing kind of the user's foot and just being there all together. And just taking a look at some of the breakdown of the outsole, you know, take a look. There it is on the outside, and then the outside of both of these shoes. And actually it held up well. And before I did this 30-day test, well, I guess 15 days if you divide the two, there were miles in both the Altra Torin and the New Balance 1080. So these are not fresh, brand new out of the box shoes to start this test. So they did have some ground pound in them, but there it is. They held up well. Okay. So all in all, very, very, very cool. And hopefully you guys got some good feedback as far as, you know, how these shoes held up. You know, I wasn't really turning this into a competition between the two. I feel like these platforms, these types of shoes are separate and identifiable, meaning that you have a completely different category here compared to this category. But I think it just kind of goes to show how running shoes and walking shoes, you know, as manufactured these days, do hold up in real life conditions. I do like doing these sorts of reviews because you know, it actually gets me more miles in the shoe, it gets me more time in the shoe, and it gets me I feel like a lot more information about the shoe to share with you guys. You know, I do think about shoes, and I do think about feet, and I do think about biomechanics, and I really hope that on this channel I do try to communicate that stuff in a way that's fun for you guys. Hopefully it's a little bit informative, hopefully it's a little bit educational. I know for me, this is just a super fun creative outlet for me, and I'm kind of on a little tangent here. So hopefully you guys found value in that, and if you did, please like the video, and then subscribe to the channel if you want more information about shoes and running and being a busy parent, and you know, just trying to make it in this so-called sport of running the best way we can. All right, so there you go. I'm gonna wipe off the old sunglasses here. And oh yeah, by the way, these Valen sunglasses, I have a discount code now through Valen. I will throw that onto the screen now. I'll have a separate video. It's been almost a year now since I started wearing the Valen Ventures here, and I'll do a little follow-up. But you know, bottom line up front, spoiler alert, they held up well. They passed the dad test, they passed the running test, they passed every other kind of test imaginable. These were literally in the water park water yesterday, and here they are. They somehow survived me, and that's saying a lot. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys are doing well. We'll catch you in the next one. Have a lovely day.